Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to today's webinar. I am Evelyn Moon. I am Director of Education here at Good Grief. I'm coming to you from our Teen Center in our Princeton location, and I am so grateful for the opportunity to spend some time with you all today and learn some really cool practical tools that I think you all could go and use really right away after this session. So grateful for your time, your attention, grateful for our presenter today. This is part of our community webinar series. Every school year from September through June, we try to bring you fresh ideas, new content, things that you can use in your lives. Anyone who's attended today's session live will receive a certificate of attendance, most likely tomorrow, but definitely within the next 48 hours. We are recording as well, so hello to our friends who are watching later on YouTube. We appreciate you, and we're so glad that you're here. So as we get going, if you wouldn't mind in the chat, which hopefully I have enabled this time. Let me double check. Sometimes it's been a little funny, but if you can use the chat, which I will double check, let me know where you're from. Let's see. Can you all use the chat? If not, I will investigate. Oh, nope. I see a raised hand.
Yeah, for me, it's not showing other than just to hosts and panelists.
All right. 3 dots. Ta-da. All right. I think we should be good. Hello, friends. So we'll try that again. Let's see who's in the room. Where are you from? Who are you representing? Are you from a school? Are you from another state, another country? Up there, I see the chat. Dallas, Chicago, Mattawan, North Carolina, Phoenix. Hey, New Mexico. Patterson, Edison. Hey, our friends from Edison. So Edison schools actually came and visited our center and did a PD, which is something, if you're local to either our Morristown or Princeton Center, we are happy to host you at any time. So we are Good Grief. Our mission is to build resilience in children, strengthen families, and empower communities to grow from loss and adversity. So for those of you who might be new to us, we've been around since 2004. We support young people and their families in our centers in Princeton and Morristown. We also provide virtual support September through June every other week for grieving children and their families. We also, big picture, do our Grief Expression Summer Camp every summer. We have a Spring Institute, which I'll give you a save the date at the end of this session. We do PD and training. We work with parents and caregivers, and our Youth and Funerals Initiative. So for our school friends, you might already be familiar with our programming and options. But I think that's enough about Good Grief. You all are here to learn from our wonderful presenter today. So prior to starting LifeWeb in 2019, Ali worked in strategy and operations at Google, PepsiCo, Oliver Wyman, and received her MBA at Kellogg Northwestern University, where she met her LifeWeb co-founder, Rochelle, and her husband, Gustavo. So Ali and Gustavo actually live in Brazil, which is pretty far from, I think, your original roots. But rather than me telling about you, I'd love for you to share who you are and what you do with our community. And thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks, Evelyn. Is my audio coming through okay? Yeah. And apologize to everyone in the Northern Hemisphere. It is coming into the summer here in Brazil, but I'm from Ohio. I'm heading back there this weekend, so don't worry, I'll be cold right along with the rest of you. Like Evelyn said, I'm Ali. LifeWeb, my company, is really a space for helping communities to share memories of a loved one that has passed away. And we think about it in the context of acknowledging the impact that that person has had on the world. It's a website. And so in the process of building this tech company, we've seen tons of creative ways that people celebrate their loved one, both on the LifeWeb platform, but also just through talking with literally hundreds of people that have lost a loved one. So I'm really excited to share some of those learnings with you today. Evelyn mentioned a bit about my background, just to give a quick overview of how I found myself working in this space. When I was getting my MBA, my co-founder Rochelle and I were taking an innovation class, and we were really diving into the experience of losing a loved one, funeral planning, a lot of things that haven't seen a lot of innovation in a long time. And in that process, we were talking with all these people that had lost a loved one, friends, colleagues, somebody from long ago, and just to really understand that experience from different perspectives. And one of those people was my friend Josh, who his older brother Seth had died in an apartment fire in Jersey City many years prior. And in that discussion, what he shared was that his brother was 28 at the time, and he was just 17. And so they had this big age gap, but also he was perpetually thinking of his brother as this older person in his life, and only really got to know what he was like, say, out on a Saturday night from talking with his brother's friends. And he said, as time passes, it's really terrifying to think I'm going to lose that connection with those friends. And so we really focused on, okay, how do we preserve that community around the bereaved family for the long haul? That's how LifeWeb got started. In that process, in the 3 years that we've had a product out in the world, I actually lost my own dad. My dad died in an accident just over a year ago. And so I'm now coming to you from the perspective of really having studied the experience of losing a loved one and how we honor them, and also having experienced that myself. So without further ado, let's dive into some of the topics that we are going to cover today. Let's see if you can see my... Okay. Can you see my screen? Great. Okay. So these are some of the things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to, at a high level, talk about if you're using technology, somebody do that, some general considerations. Then we'll talk about
Hi, Ali. I just see that it says you've started screen sharing, but I'm not seeing your screen just yet. Hi, I see you.
not sure what happened there. Zoom quit on me. All right, let's try that again. Okay. Can you see?
We are good. We are good.
Yay! Brazilian Wi-Fi is not what it used to be. I'm not sure. Hopefully this Zoom sticks with us now. Okay, so the things that we're going to cover today: general considerations when using technology to honor a loved one, then some tools and ideas that you can use either for yourself or if you're guiding or working with somebody to gather memories from other people from that person's community. Then we'll talk about ways to think about engaging the community, getting people to do something in memory of the person, making a creative tribute, and just lots of other tips and tricks in general. We're going to cover a lot of stuff. I have a bajillion tabs open. Maybe that's why Zoom crashed. That I'm going to go through and share a lot of ideas. Don't panic. Evelyn's going to send out an email next week with this recording, as well as a PDF that's going to have links to all of these tools, so you'll have that there. However, as we're going through all of these different ideas, please don't hesitate to drop a question in the chat. Evelyn will shout it out to me, and then we'll cover that as we go, and hopefully should have time at the end as well, unless we get into lots of good discussion as we're going. So I'm gonna pause screen sharing for a sec. So first, just to kind of set some context, when you're thinking about using technology to honor a loved one, I would say there's a few really high-level considerations, and some of these might seem really obvious, but given the sensitive nature of what we're talking about, I think it's helpful to have top of mind. So the first thing would be really considering, what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to capture something about the person from other people? Are you wanting to preserve things that that person said themselves? Are you wanting to celebrate them? Are you trying to do something that's going to support the community that's grieving their loss? Lots of different ideas for each of those, but really thinking about what your intention is. And then the main thing that I would encourage you to consider in all things in life is, as you're undertaking any new process, what is a way that I can make this less time consuming? I think if you always assume that there's some technology solution out there that's going to make your life easier, if you're spending a lot of time manually doing something's really driving you crazy, just assume that there's probably a better way out there. There's lots of startups like LifeWeb and lots of other companies that you might use in your work. And it's really just a question of, what do I Google to find this thing? So always encourage you to be thinking about how you can bring tech in. And then definitely consider who you want to be involved. I think, that's probably the biggest call out, is like anything, especially if you're using social media, just being aware of how this might make other people feel, who might want to have a say in what you're working on, how things might not go as planned, and how you can mitigate in advance. One example that I would call out is audio of somebody that has passed away speaking can be really triggering for people, especially recorded voicemails or things where it's just the audio of the person and not a video. And so, if you were going to do something that is sharing, your loved one speaking, and maybe you're going to put that on Facebook, for example, just having some sort of a warning, so to speak, so people understand what that is before hitting play. Those are the types of things you want to be thinking about. And then finally, I would think, just generally speaking, on platforms that you're choosing. So we're going to go through a lot of different tools that you can use, but I think generally speaking, there's tools that are really good for creating some sort of a tribute, and there's tools that are really good for getting the word out. So if your loved one's community is really on Facebook, posting about an event or a video that you've made or something like that there is going to reach the most amount of people, versus, a WhatsApp message or some other type of group. Cool. So let's dive into the meat. We are going to first talk about how to gather memories from our community. So this is, okay, so when my dad passed away, how do I get photos, stories from people that he knew in different contexts that maybe I don't even know? So I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. All right. We can see Google Photos, hopefully. So Google's tools are, oh gosh, did it pause? Okay.
I think it's getting a little grumpy again. It just says that you've started screen sharing.
Okay. Can you see Google Photos?
I do not.
Oh no. Okay.
If there's anything that I can share for you, I'm happy to do it, but I'm sure probably some of these you're logged into.
Yeah, let's give this one more try. And maybe if I don't stop sharing.
Okay, we're in.
Okay, awesome. We're in. Great. Sorry, everybody. Okay, so Google Photos is awesome if you've ever used a collaborative album where you can create an album and then you can share the link out and anybody can upload photos to it. I think that's a really easy way, especially before funerals. We see people doing that, where they'll send that out so that they can get lots of pictures and then decide which they want to use in a funeral slideshow. One feature besides collaborative albums that I wanted to point out is, I think they call it Faces. So I'm in Google Photos here, which is a free tool. And then if you go into Explore, they show your pictures in all sorts of different formats. So down here, they have it by different places where the pictures were taken, but up here, they actually have it by people. And so these are people that their AI has identified them, I've named them, so it makes it easy for me to find them. But if this was for, say, a coworker, and maybe you don't have that many pictures of them, you're not even sure if you have pictures of them, but maybe they're in the background of some photos from a team event or something like that. What you can do is you can upload a photo to Google Photos. And then, so this is a photo of some friends from business school here in Brazil. And you can see that Google has identified me and my friend Sahar that are in this picture, but there's all these other faces that they haven't identified. So you can picture that I just uploaded this to Google Photos. And then what I can actually do is I can so I can identify all these other people. So, oh, who's this person? This is my friend Larissa. So if I want to see other pictures that I have of her, oops, that's not what I wanted. That's to edit it. If I click on her, it'll show me other pictures that I have with her in it, and it's pretty accurate. So these are some other pictures of when we went to business school together. We went hiking. Actually, in prepping for this, I forgot about some of these trips that we had taken, and so I think this is a pretty neat feature. Another tool for gathering memories from other people that you might be familiar with just from the pandemic is Vide, or Tribute is another company that does something similar. So this is where you can actually gather videos from people. So this was a compilation video that I made for my now husband. And so everybody recorded photos from around the world of themselves talking, some people in English, some in Portuguese. It was fun to see it all together. And then you can rearrange them, and then they compile the video for you. They add some music, and it makes a really nice, really easy compilation video. So you can imagine doing this, everybody sharing, a specific memory or just general remembrance of the person. The next collaborative piece I wanted to talk about. Can you see Spotify on my screen?
I do.
Okay, thanks, Evelyn. So if you use Spotify for music, something you might be familiar with is when you make a playlist, you can actually make the playlist collaborative. So in the same way that Google allows you to let anybody add photos to your album, Spotify will allow anybody to add songs to this playlist. So I think this is a really neat way to be, oh, I can't tell if I'm frozen. I'm just going to keep going. We did this for my dad's memorial service, and this was a really neat way to allow people to share songs that made them think of my dad all together. And so there's this little button here, invite collaborators to add an easy thing to set up. Evelyn, you're frozen on my side. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. I can see you. I love all of these collaborative tools. I never would have thought to search through my own Google Photos because I have mine automatically back up from my phone. So there's probably tons of people I have pictures of that I don't even realize. I've also used Spotify playlists as like a team builder. If you have a team and they're adding like songs that represent how they feel or represent the work, like, there's a lot of ways that you can use it, but I never thought to use it in this way to remember somebody.
Yeah, and I would say, in addition to Google, I know Apple and Facebook have something similar for finding pictures that you didn't know that you had of somebody. We actually did that for my friend Maria's. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to chat about was how to gather memories from people in maybe more of a written format. And the first general idea is just to use Gmail. Gmail is free to set up a Gmail account. You could call it, rememberingjoesmith@gmail.com. And then anybody can send an email or a photo to that email address. It makes it easy to keep it separate. If you're wanting to gather memories, maybe for a child to look at, when they're older, that can be a nice way to do this privately, just easy for everybody to access. If you wanted to do something a little bit more multimedia, this is where LifeWeb comes in. This is my dad's LifeWeb. Here's him with his boat. On LifeWeb, it feels a lot like social media. So this is a free site where people can share stories, photos, videos that are honoring the person that has passed away. The memories get organized by what we call, oh shoot. Oh my gosh.
I can still hear you and see your screen, but I don't know if you're freezing up.
All right, if you can still hear me, great. I have no idea what's happening with Zoom. Okay, I'll keep going. And Evelyn, just maybe send me an email if I completely go offline.
Okay.
Okay, so what I was going to point out is that you can organize the memories by what we call life threads. So those are the themes and topics most important to the person. It makes it easier for people to find memories that are relevant to them. And then we have different privacy settings that determine who can share and who can view memories, and they all get reviewed to ensure that they're in the spirit of honoring the person that passed away. I wanted to share a few tributes that have been shared on LifeWeb that were really creative. So this is LifeWeb honoring Emily, and Emily was a really prolific distance runner. So that's one of her life threads. So if I filter on running, we can see all the memories from people that were in her running group or related to her running, people running in her honor. And this one I just love is from Map My Run. So her nickname was Emmy, and somebody actually ran her name in the pattern on Map My Run as a tribute, which I thought was really, really creative. This is a LifeWeb honoring David, and his family started the LifeWeb months in advance. They had about 6 months between when he passed and when they were planning on having the celebration of life.
Oh, you all get me for a moment. I think we are dealing with some Brazilian Wi-Fi issues here, unfortunately. Super unfortunate, since we're talking about digital ways for memorializing. I will say some of the things that I really liked, and I've been putting this in the chat, is the collaborative nature of some of these tools, but I also like the way LifeWeb lets you select categories. So like with that runner, being able to sort it by running or by hiking or by family, like by their hobbies. I also love the idea of having a repository for those photos, videos, and stories for later on as well. You know, when you're 5 or 6, probably not the time to hear some stories that friends might be willing to share. But when you get older, you want to continue that bond. You want to get to know the person in different ways as you grow, as you mature, for sure. I see a raised hand. Oh yeah, I could tell. So that app was called LifeWeb 360. Let me grab their website for you all. And I'll pop it in the chat. This is a free tool. And that last one that she was starting to talk about, what I liked about that one was they were anticipating the death of an important person in their lives. And sometimes it's also in that run-up period that you are able to get folks to contribute stories, contribute ideas, videos. Yes, they shared the videos, the photos. I think you could put audio on there. Oh, the video, the one that was just the birthday one, I've used that one as well. I used it during the pandemic when we couldn't have birthday parties. So I did this for my daughter, actually. So that's vidday.com. And with vidday.com, you send out a link. So I because a lot of my family is on Facebook. I created a Facebook invitation, sent the vid day link to everyone, and then they could do it through their phone or they could do it through their computer, and they contributed photos and videos. And vid day will, I guess it's through some kind of AI, but it will create a video with transitions, and you can tweak the order, but like you can add music. They can make it really fun. So it's really for any type of collaborative celebration. Let me check my email and see if Allie's okay. She may have needed to completely restart her computer and maybe just had too many tabs open. I don't see her on there. Yeah, I will say in our centers, we are big on the idea of continuing bonds, which I feel like this sort of threads itself into so neatly and so easily. In our centers, we have a room where our participants keep their actual memory boxes, and that's a place where they deposit thoughts, letters, ephemera, little pieces to hold that story. And sometimes, especially with our youngest ones, they need help from other people to help continue that bond, because when a young person's experienced the death of an important person in their lives, like a parent, like a sibling, but they're too young to remember, they really do depend on other people to tell them who they were and what they were like and what their impact and effect was on other people, and to share those memories. So sometimes young people are building that bond with someone maybe they didn't even really get the opportunity to know or have any memories of. And I think these digital tools are just another way to facilitate that, but also have it sort of exist in a way that can be accessible for a long, long time. You can lose objects, but I think if you create these videos, if you've got room on your Google Drive folder and you're uploading things and saving things there, I love the idea of a dedicated email address. I know people will do that for their kids. So if you've made a Gmail address for a baby or a young person, you could also send these things there, so that way they can access it later as well. Allie, hello. Did it force you to restart? Is that what happened?
Just now did, but my audio was coming through before that?
Your audio was coming through. I was just talking about LifeWeb. They were asking about Vid Day. I talked about some of the memory boxes that we have in our centers and how I feel like this is just another way to continue those bonds and keep memories alive. So
okay, I was still presenting for a while, so I don't know when it cut out. So
it cut out on your runner.
Oh gosh, okay, that was a while ago. Okay, guys, I'm really sorry. I'm glad with the recorded version, maybe we can clip out all this chaos. So it sounds like you covered a lot of good stuff too.
I had fun hanging with my friends here, but I'm happy to toss it back over.
Okay, so we heard on
the runner, yeah, how they had run the pattern of her name. That was very cool.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Sorry, I kept chugging along. So let's go back here. Okay. Can you see?
All right, David? I see trail mix and a bottle. Yes, a barn. Excellent. We're in.
Okay. Okay. Whew. Okay. So this is David's LifeWeb. David's family started this LifeWeb about 6 months before the eventual celebration of life for him. So they were able to collect a lot of photos from a big swath of people that they were able to use at that event, and also build some excitement leading up to the event. This is Alice's LifeWeb, and this is a handwritten note from Alice that somebody included there, which I think is really nice. This is, content, not just about her, people's memories, but also artifacts from her. This is a story that I think is really neat, where this is Jay's LifeWeb, and he was a missionary when he was younger. And so this is a memory from somebody that was a missionary at the same point in time. And here he mentions that he has a journal from this time period in his life. He'd be happy to scan them and share it with the family. And I think that's just such a neat way for his family, his grandchildren, his children, his spouse to really get to see another side of him that they hadn't. And then finally, this is Kylie's LifeWeb. So Kylie's community does random acts of kindness in her name on her birthday. Her birthday actually was last week. And so you see a lot of people sharing what they did in her honor. And they have these little handouts that they would give to people, which explains more about Kylie and what it is they're doing, which I think is really neat. I'm going to keep going and talk more quickly in case we have more tech hiccups. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was ways that you can engage your community. So we were just talking about how can you gather memories from the community, but sometimes, you know, when my dad died, I had people that really wanted to support me, but they never met my dad. They didn't have a memory of him. So how can I let them participate? And so these are a few ideas for how you can engage your community in other ways. The first one I wanted to share is bonfire. So something that we come across a lot is people wanting to do t-shirt fundraisers, where usually somebody in the person's community will design a shirt in memory of the person. And then some poor person is tasked with having to get these printed, gather the sizes, gather money, track people down, and then distribute all the t-shirts. And so what Bonfire does is essentially let you set up an e-commerce store to sell your shirt or other types of apparel, wristbands, things like that. So people can say their size, they can buy it right there, they do all the fulfillment, and you can even have money set aside to go to a cause that was important to your person. Another thing I wanted to point out was hashtag campaigns. So we talked about Kylie's community. They have a hashtag I roar for Kylie when they want to do something in her memory. I think hashtag campaigns work best on platforms that people are spending a lot of time on. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, versus a platform like LifeWeb, people are not looking there every day. And so if you're trying to really coordinate an action, I think those types of platforms tend to work a lot better for that. So hashtag opt outside with sunscreen versus opt out. This is something that Emily, the runner, used to say and do. She passed away from skin cancer. And so when you look at this hashtag, you have a mix of memories of Emily, about her, information on being safe in the sun, and people just generally getting outside, doing something outside, doing that in her memory and using that hashtag so that other people can see, oh, they're thinking of her as well, which I think is really neat. Okay, Zoom is cooperating. Great. So next we're going to talk about tributes that anybody can make to honor someone. So we've been talking a lot about community. These are things that you can do by yourself if you want, or bring other people in. So the first thing that I want to mention is just get your photos and videos digitized. This makes such a big difference. I showed you all the neat things that Google Photos does. Once things are digitized, it just really opens a lot more possibilities. There's services where you can send your photos or videos away. I personally have always used a local service for doing that, just because I'm wary of mailing off one-of-a-kind videos or photos. My dad was a really prolific videographer. I was going to try and play you this compilation video, just the beginning of it, that we made for his funeral service, but I'm not even going to try because my computer will probably explode. But we were able to make that because we had all these old Super 8 videos, and I mean really, really old ones that we had digitized as a family. And so when he died, I spent days actually putting together this video with my sister that was our tribute rather than us speaking at his funeral service. And it was really a lot of fun to put together. As far as how to put together, actually I want to jump to this one. So I mentioned you can take a big box full of photos or videos to get everything digitized at once, but there's a bunch of apps out there that are really great for essentially scanning with your phone. So there's a little video here where they show basically you take a photo of photos from a couple different angles, and they're able to use different technology to kind of make it appear flat. So if you just want to scan a few photos, please do this rather than taking a picture of a picture or a picture of a picture in a frame where there's reflection and all of these things. There is a better way, and it's not that tricky. PhotoMine is a great tool. Google has a great scanning app as well. Just basically search for photo scanning in your app store. So once you have all these photos, videos, what are you going to do with them? There's a lot of tools out there that make it really easy to make a slideshow, to make a compilation video. So Smilebox is one where they have different templates and transitions and things like that, specific to funerals or memorials, or more broadly for any occasion. Animoto is another one that makes it really easy for you to put together a really nice looking video with transitions with text. But there's way too many tools and apps out there to make video content these days. So choose your preference. And then, okay, you have all these photos, but sometimes, especially when we're thinking about honoring a loved one, something physical is helpful. So, you know, the name of today's presentation is Beyond Memory Boxes, but sometimes something that you want to touch is really important. And so if you have a lot of photos, there's so many different ways that you can make a photo book. You know, you can use CVS, all sorts of photo book builders. There's some higher end options out there. I personally like Artifact Uprising. I think they have really nice looking products and some interesting styles that are a little bit different for gifts. There's some really quirky ones that I've come across, like these tiny books from Social Print Studio. You buy them 3 at a time and they have magnets on the back. I think these would make such a nice gift, you know, maybe for your sisters or something like that. Everybody can keep a tiny photo book of your person with them at all times. And then if you've ever tried to make truly a scrapbook, not a photo book, that has both memories and photos, we did that for my grandma's 90th birthday several years ago. It is a nightmare with text of different lengths, getting everything formatted, again, collecting memories from people. And so LifeWeb actually has an option where you can have your digital LifeWeb page transformed into a physical memory book, which is pretty neat, makes a great gift. And if you hate scrapbooking, this is the tool for you. Okay, what else did I want to mention? So a couple other just general neat tips and tricks to chat about. I think most people have probably come across at this point a memorialized Facebook page. So if your loved one has passed away, just be aware that you can memorialize their Facebook page, their Instagram account. Why is this important? You get to preserve what they shared in the world, their representation of themselves, things that they created. But Facebook isn't recommending that you invite this person to an upcoming event or other things that can be pretty triggering and painful inadvertently for people. And then even websites that you might not think about. So LinkedIn actually used to not offer that as an option, and we would see all sorts of different workarounds that people would use in the title of the person's name. And I just noticed today in preparing for this that they now have a remembrance feature, which is really neat. And so again, this is just thinking about what are those platforms that were important to your person. You don't need to shut them down if you want to preserve them in some way. And based on where that person's community is, you know, by shutting it down, you might be cutting off access for that community to be able to share their remembrances of that person. A couple other just kind of ad hoc things to mention, and then I will stop sharing my screen and we can do some Q&A. One of them is voicemails. So unfortunately, I don't have any voicemails that my dad left me when I moved to Brazil. Switching phone numbers and things like that, which is really a bummer, but I know my sister has one that she saved. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. Probably the easiest is just playing the voicemail out loud and recording the audio of it on somebody else's phone. But there's a few other tools out there that do it in a little bit more of a clean fashion, and I'll include that in the PDF that you guys get next week. Something else that you can do is you can record the outgoing voice message of the person. So this is a free service where basically the computer calls your loved one, and then when their voicemail picks up, it just records that audio. So again, this is something that you could do, same thing on speakerphone and recording, but it's pretty neat that this exists if you want to preserve their voice. Speaking of audio, I have never done this, but this is a really cool company and I love their videos. Songfinch, for what I think is the bargain price of $199, you can have a completely new, custom, unique song written, performed, and recorded for you. Choose your style. You want country, you want R&B. And so, you could create a song about your person, about your relationship with that person. I've heard some of the songs that they put together that they showcase on here, and they're really good. And the reactions from people are always amazing. So I think that's pretty neat as a gift, especially. And then finally, Canva, which you may or may not be familiar with. Similar to Google for everything, Canva for everything. Canva has a free tier, and for any sort of design that you're doing for the entire project. So they have all sorts of video templates. You can actually make videos right in here. But for, say that you are making a program for a funeral. So if you just type in memorial, they have all sorts of templates in here for programs, for slideshow covers, for you name it. You can tell it's loading, so there's some juicy bits there. All right, we'll come back to that. We'll let it load. But they also have templates for collages. Oh, there we go. So a lot of these, so you can see there's 9,000 results that are coming up. So you can look for something more specific, or you can further filter by, I want a template for a poster or a flyer or whatever it is you're trying to do. Canva will make it seem like you are a designer. I am not, and we use it all the time, and it makes things look very polished. Those are the key tools that I wanted to go through. I just wanted to mention a couple things before wrapping up. One, thank you for your time and your patience. I really appreciate that. The next thing I would mention is that LifeWeb is a free tool. It is free. So if you think somebody could benefit from using LifeWeb to gather memories of a loved one, somebody that has passed away recently or a long time ago, please spread the word. It really helps us. And then the second thing that I would mention is that we also partner with organizations like faith groups, like high schools, like employers, universities, sororities, and fraternities, to create what we call branded group commemorations. So these have LifeWeb tribute pages honoring all the members of that organization which have passed away. And it's a really neat tool for member or alumni engagement, as well as in memoriam donations. So similarly, if you work with or at an organization that could benefit from that, please reach out. We'd love to talk with you about partnership. I'm Ali, A-L-I, at lifeweb360.com. That's all I got. Evelyn, back over to you.
All right. Well, I just want to see if folks have any questions that you want to pop in the chat. If there's anything specific about any of the tools, even if it's just, what was that website again? What was that tool? Whether it's about collaborating, continuing bonds, going beyond just the memory boxes. We definitely want to see and hear and read your questions before I bring us home. So I'll just give folks a moment. I have to say, Ali, I really like those tiny books, just in general. Everything is, I don't know, better when it's smaller.
Yeah,
I
100%.
don't know. I'm pretty far past the baby stage with my kid now, but still I'll see something like this is a tiny Doc Martin and automatically adorable. So the tiny book, yes, that speaks to me. And using it for this is wonderful. How do you access someone's cell phone if you don't have the password? Ooh, that's hacker stuff. Yeah. Sorry, Ellen, that would be probably like an Apple store or T-Mobile or a Verizon question, because if you have someone in your life who's died and they've got photos and videos and probably notes and interactions, yeah, that's tough. Yeah, you'd probably have to go to the company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
another thing potentially, I'm just thinking about more personally when my dad died. So my dad died in a plane crash. He was a pilot, and his phone was incinerated basically. And so even trying to shut down the account was difficult, and talking with the phone company and trying to explain, no, we don't have the phone, no one has the phone. But we did have access on his computer to his email addresses. And so not for accessing his phone, but being able to reset other accounts, that was really helpful. And if your loved one has multiple computers, they might be logged in on one, or maybe you can guess the password on one versus another. But yeah, otherwise I would say, unfortunately, that's a tricky one. Apple makes it hard to get phones for privacy reasons.
It's definitely a provider question, I would think. Also acknowledging, I know some Apple products like your MacBook might talk to your phone. With Google, I have an Android, all of my photos automatically upload to my Google Photos. So same if I, knock on wood, not anytime soon, but if I die, my husband should be able to log into my Gmail account and then be able to access my photos as long as he has the current password. So spouses, partners, talk to each other. I see Thomas. Oh, he said the PhotoMine website seems like it will really come in handy for some of those old pictures. Yeah.
PhotoMine, and I think it's just called Google Scan. That's the one I have, because PhotoMine has a free trial and then they have a paid tier, and the Google one is just free. But PhotoMine, I haven't used it in a while, but I believe they let you scan multiple photos at once and then it crops them, which I would recommend. The holidays are coming up. Like, get those shoe boxes out, go, through with your family, with your kids. You can lay them on the floor, and, during the free trial, you can get a lot of photos scanned.
That's amazing. Multiple photos at once and then cropping them. I know my mom has, this is almost embarrassing. The Rubbermaid roughneck tubs full of photos, just loose photos that never made it into an album. It would be great to scan those, or maybe even just bring it to a company and make it their problem to digitize all of these.
Yeah.
All of these things. Yeah. Oh, I love this as a project with my daughter about her dad. Yeah. And I think you two could really, continue your connection, but also the connection with him as well while working on this, for sure.
Yeah, I personally found it really helpful after my dad died, creating something, like doing something tangible with my hands, was really helpful. So I think that's a great idea.
I think we see that a lot. Folks want to, we can't help it. Human beings, we have to make meaning out of every experience. We have to. We can't just have things happen to us. So sometimes that veers towards creation, creative pursuits, making something meaningful from it. So whether it's, going ahead and fundraising, like with the t-shirts, or creating a beautiful photo book. We talk about instrumental grievers. They like to feel like they are doing things, to move themselves through their grief. And this could be something, that active, that doing, that I think could really satisfy that need for them.
I think something that we hear also, just building on that from people in our community, is the ability to introduce your loved one to future people. I haven't had kids yet, but how they meet their grandpa, the ability to do that, or to help your person's spirit and energy be felt out in the world. My dad was a prankster, and my wedding was a few months ago. And the day before, we did this like ridiculous, we had an inflatable donkey costume that we made my husband like catch the person in the donkey costume. We had read about a Brazilian tradition that the fiance is supposed to catch a wild donkey to tame him and prove to the father-in-law that he is worthy of the bride. And my dad had thought that that was hilarious when I had found this online. My husband was like, I don't think that's a thing. But we said, well, we have to do it now. And so we did that in his honor. And so all these people that had never met my dad were like, well, like, I get a sense of what he was about, and it brought such a fun spirit to the day that really made it feel more like he was with us, and like we were kind of projecting that that energy out into the world.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. I love how your husband was like, I don't think that's a thing. And your dad was like, I am expecting a donkey. So oh, I hope y'all recorded that just to add for future remembering and honoring.
Great photos from that day.
Oh, incredible. So any other thoughts, questions, reflections while we still have Ali here? I have a few things that I want to share with you all, our upcoming events, some resources, things of that nature. But before I really start to bring this home, just wanted to pause and see if there's any questions. All right, so I'm going to grab a few things and pop them in the chat. So the first is our survey. Of course, we want to hear from you. We want to know how this was for you. And I'm always interested in other ideas. What are you as our community really seeking for content topics, particular presenters, whatever it is that might be helpful to you and your learning. We want to be able to make that happen for you. And these are the registration links for our 2 upcoming webinars. So I had to go back and fix 2022 to 2023 on all of these. I kept writing the wrong year. I think I'm in denial that this one is so close to wrapping up. But yes, in 2022, on January 12th, we have Heather Horton. She is a lawyer, certified coach, certified grief recovery expert. She is an instructor on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. I think she's a podcaster. She's like all the things, but she's going to talk about how grief impacts our identity, which I think should be really interesting. And I think at the beginning of the year, a good time to sort of reflect and contemplate these things. Then Thursday, February 16th, we have Dr. Nina Verma. She's going to talk about grief journaling. She is an author, a writer. She's developed a lot of her own systems. She's an expert, a grief companion. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. Casey, if you follow the 2 links in the chat right above you, you'll see the ones that have the Zoom links. You can sign up right now. I will also put them in the follow-up email as well. And for those of you who are local, so Saturday, March 18th will be the Good Grief Spring Institute. Our topic this year is on grief and addiction. Our keynote speaker is Dr. Kenneth Doka. There'll be presentations by us at Good Grief, but also Eleanor and Litsa of What's Your Grief, if you're familiar with their online community. I think it's going to be a really great day. Would love to see you there. If you're local, it will be open to anyone who wants to register and get some continuing education. I know it's a Saturday, but I think it'll be a worthwhile use of a Saturday. If you have any questions, I am Evelyn with 2 N's at good-grief.org. And I think that's everything, folks. I'm so appreciative of you all for being here with us today, for taking the time to learn about this. Would love to hear what, if anything. Oh, thank you, Ronelle. And we're also going to have a great family panel this year. So we're going to have young people with their grown-ups, with facilitators. It's going to be a great conversation at the Spring Institute. Thank you, Ronelle, for that vote of confidence. So yes, we would love to see if you use these tools and you're willing to share, I am so curious to see what you all are able to create to remember your person. So thanks, everyone. And thanks, Ali.
Thanks very much for having me. Sorry again about all the technical problems, given this a little ironic technology presentation, but we got through it.
This was our international presentation. First time. You're the first person outside of North America. So, and we did it.